Good morning, friends. It is Tuesday, right around 7:30. Just wanted to come on here, give you an update because we are tracking Arctic air and low wind chills this morning, but we're also tracking the potential for a significant winter storm for parts of the Mid-South, Southeast, and Tennessee Valley as we continue through the week, and that's going to come into our area on Friday into Saturday morning. So we'll take a look at the timing, the threats, and kind of what I'm thinking here when it comes to snow potential across the Tennessee Valley shortly. But let's get to your temperatures first. As you're stepping out today, it's just kind of like getting smacked with Arctic air. That's the best way I can describe it. It is very uncomfortable. Temperatures are 30 in Chattanooga, 29 in Dalton, 24 in Blue Ridge. Now keep in mind, I understand it's January and that it's cold, but when you get the wind chill and the winds are blowing around, 21, that's just not comfortable to be out in. 13 is your real feel in Altamont, 14 in Blue Ridge, 18 in Fort Payne, 19 in Calhoun. And today, temperature's really not going to warm up all that much. It is going to be a very cold day, and it does look like we are going to maybe get above freezing here in the valley, mid to upper 30s, a lot of clouds early with some sunshine late. And then tonight, remember the 4 Ps, the people, plants, pets, and pipes. Make sure you wrap those exposed pipes and drip those faucets, because that's going to be very crucial as you get into the next couple of nights, because we are going to have that cold air moving in. And look at these lows: 17 in Athens, 18 in Spring City, 18 in Altamont. Too cold for the pets out there, people. 21 in Madisonville, 19 in Ducktown, 20 in Blue Ridge, 23 in Lafayette, 20 in Henniger, and 21 in Fort Payne. And we're going to have a lot of nights like this moving forward where temperatures drop well into the teens outside of Chattanooga. And here in the city, we could drop down into the teens a few nights as well. So over the next couple of days, we'll probably start to notice some thin ice forming on some shallow ponds here across the Tennessee Valley. Don't try to walk on them. Not going to be a good idea. Ice is never going to be thick enough here at this latitude to walk across, even though we will start to have that ice on some of those ponds. Again, do not do that, because we're going to start to see that here shortly, because it's going to be a cold week. Typically, I would say over the last couple of years, we've had some colder spells, but this is going to be more prolonged than what we've been used to over the last couple of winters. Now let's get down to the nitty-gritty, because we are tracking a winter storm threat moving into Friday and Saturday morning. Widespread snow looking more likely based on some of the data I was looking at overnight. It now looks like that low pressure takes that southerly more track, pulling in that moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. Cold air already locked into place, which means we're going to have that chance for some widespread snow, especially early on. Now, at some point, there is a chance that warm nose kind of shoots to the north, and that would give us more of a freezing rain and sleet mix, but it looks like that might be a little further to our south, maybe into Georgia and Alabama, closer to I-20. It's hard to say exactly where that's going to set up, but the snow is trending further to the south, which I think if you want to see snow and you're watching this from Chattanooga, Athens, Nashville, Huntsville, even north of the Atlanta metro, that's good for you and good for us, because we're going to see winter weather. We prefer it to be snow, because once you start getting sleet, freezing rain, snow, and then rain, it just makes a sloppy mess. That's where you can have more power outages, because that ice really weighs down those power lines. So you always want all snow in these events. If it's not going to be a cold rain, all snow is definitely the best scenario as far as travel impacts. Yes, it's still going to be a mess, because look at this. This is one solution. This is our European model. I'll also show you the GFS. So the European brings in the snow across parts of North Mississippi, probably right around Highway 82 and northbound in Mississippi. You're going to see some of that snow north of I-20 in North Alabama. And look at this. It could get heavy at times in Birmingham, Atlanta. Going to be right on the lines. If it's cold enough and they get ice down there, it doesn't take much to create some chaos. And we're looking at the potential for a mix all the way down to Macon, Georgia, and then that snow breaks down. And I just want to note that this is the setup that we need in Chattanooga to get snow. The last couple of winters, it's been these low pressures that died down from Canada, cut across the country, and cold air is trying to catch up with the moisture. Well, what we have this time is the moisture is going to be moving into the cold air. That's the setup that we typically get for snows in Chattanooga. We call these southern sliders. It's going to slide right across portions of the Gulf Coast. On the northern half of the southeast, going to be a little bit colder, going to get that chance for snow, and at some point there's going to be a winter battleground of sleet, freezing rain set up. That's likely going to be across I-20 and northbound. And look at the snow continues by 7:20 on Friday. We got to watch that ice line though. There's going to be that warm nose, which is warmer air in the upper atmosphere, which causes the snow to melt and then refreeze as sleet, or melt and then freeze on contact as rain if temperatures are below 32 degrees. So we're going to watch that pink because that could really cut into snow totals. If you start to get that transition to sleet or freezing rain, which can happen, we are definitely prone to that here in the valley. I do want to say we are prone to that. That happens, that would cut into snow totals, but the latest guidance has that mainly staying to our south. However, Dalton, Ellijay, Calhoun, Rome, Fort Payne, got to watch that. We'll see how things trend, but it looks like north of Tennessee, it should stay snow for most of the time. There could be a brief period of mixing as this low pressure is starting to move out, but then on the backside, more snow showers, and then things start to wrap up on Saturday. Here's another possible solution. This brings in the snow a little bit earlier. 6:40, the snow starts to spread across the Tennessee Valley. Now keep in mind, there's still some dry air overhead, so initially you may see the blue on your weather app or whatever you use to get your radar imagery. It's probably going to take a little while for this to hit the ground. We got to get that evaporation going, the evaporative cooling, which will also help cool down the column of air, which should lead to more of a snow event for us. And by 1 o'clock, that snow coming in. But notice that rain, green, pink line showing a little bit closer to the Tennessee state line, at least early on. So this model has maybe more of a mixing solution across North Georgia, Northeast Alabama, and maybe even places like Chattanooga, potentially turning over to more of a freezing rain, maybe even a cold rain for a time on Friday before transitioning back to snow and then moving out a little bit earlier. Now, typically in these situations, I favor the European model. It typically performs better than the GFS, but it's good to kind of look at both of them because both are possible scenarios. Here's a look at your latest snow totals with the European, and this is moving too slowly. I'm just going to click on it and fast forward. You know, a good solid swath of 3 to 5 inches for your latest European. That doesn't necessarily mean we're going to have 4 or 5 inches laying on the ground. Some of this will melt as it moves in and then it compacts down, but still, that's a pretty good coating for us. Last year, we got 2.1 inches in Chattanooga during that Martin Luther King Jr. Day snow, and it wasn't all that impressive, and road temperatures were generally pretty warm, but it's going to be a lot colder leading up to this storm, so we could have more issues out on the roadways. Here's a look at your latest GFS, 3, 4, 5 inches, so pretty in line with what we had the European saying, but you also got to consider some of this may not be taking into account for some of the sleet and freezing rain that may be falling, so that could cut down on some of those totals. So again, still a lot of moving parts to this, but that's just kind of what we're looking at as of now. And again, latest model data, GFS European right around 4 inches, and that's for a single point Chattanooga. Of course, when these storms come through, there's so many variables that can change how much you see. We could have heavy banding set up in one town and a dry slot in another, and you could see 8, 9 inches in that town when you only get 1 or 2 in the town to the south. So again, winter weather forecasting in the south is difficult. Just a disclaimer, sometimes it doesn't work out, but sometimes it does, and I like this scenario a lot better than what we've seen recently. And here's a look at the track. So it's favoring the southern track as of now, which gives us more of a snow opportunity here in the Tennessee Valley. If it were to take a little further north track, like the GFS may be indicating, would be more of a mixed bag, which will cut down on snow totals, but also create some nasty roadways. And regardless, it looks like we're going to be on the wintry side of this. So we're going to have some pretty significant impacts on the roadways. And here's a look at my first call. Now, disclaimer here as well, these numbers will change. As we get more data later today, tomorrow, Thursday, these numbers may bounce around. We may push that ice threat further to the north or further to the south. The heavier snow could be pushing a little further to the south. All that's in the cards, but this is after looking everything over very closely this morning. I feel comfortable that we're going to have a pretty decent swath of 2 to 5 inches from Dalton to Blue Ridge, Murphy, Spring City, Chattanooga, Monteagle, Huntsville, down into Henniger. And then you kind of have that dividing line where you start to get more of a mix. And that could cut down on your snow totals, but also lead to more power outages, especially if we get freezing rain, because again, that weighs down those power lines. So we're going to have to watch that pretty closely as well. So here's a look at your latest milk and bread-o-meter. I made this from hand. Probably update it. If you have any suggestions, let me know, because I don't love it. I'm not in love with this idea, but I think it's kind of fun. I know there are a lot of serious impacts and implications when it comes to winter weather, but every now and then you got to have a moment of levity and try to enjoy it, because it's going to come regardless if we want it to or not. So nearly a lock at this point. Bread and milk alert may be coming soon. Again, 1 gallon of milk and 1 loaf of bread probably should do you, unless you have a big family. But hey, I love milk. I could drink it all day long, so I get it. Trust me, I get it. I also love sandwiches, so there's that as well. So you look at my initial snow total map, and I'm sure I'll get some flack about that if we don't get the 2 to 5 inches, but that's okay. Got to be bold at some point and go ahead and put out a forecast and then adjust it as needed. But the reasoning behind all of this and why I think we could get a solid swath of 2 to 5 inches. So this is the European ensemble, which is just a grouping of a lot of different runs of the European model with different solutions, different outcomes, different starting conditions with temperature, moisture. It has about a 60 to 70% chance across southeast Tennessee and North Georgia picking up 3 or more inches of snow. And notice how that goes all the way down to about the I-20 corridor. Heaviest swath picking up across southeast Arkansas and Mississippi, not necessarily taking into account some of the sleet that may mix in, but that's a pretty good probability for about 3 days out. Here's the GFS, about the same. So they're both agreeing on that 3 inch of probability of snow. And if you looked at the 1 inch, it's even greater. So again, the confidence is increasing. With these systems, though, there's always surprises. There's always people who get more snow than we anticipate, get less snow than we anticipate. But I think just a broad stroke right now, looking at 2 to 5 inches here across much of our coverage area, including Chattanooga, looks pretty likely. So I do think we have a very good shot at breaking the old snow dome here in Chattanooga, in the Scenic City. Here's a look at our winter weather guide. We're within 2 to 4 days, so we're now getting a better idea of timing and precip type. Again, I'm thinking this comes in probably mid-morning on Friday. We start to see a little bit of that light snow getting heavier during the afternoon and evening, and then later during the evening we got to watch for where that warm nose goes, because that could lead to kind of a transitional period of wintry mix, sleet, freezing rain. And I've lived in the South all my life. There's been multiple times living in South Carolina where we're expected to get snow the entire duration of the event. You get this little warm layer that forms way above us in the clouds where you can't see, and then we get freezing rain and sleet, and we end up only getting a few inches of snow. So that warm nose and the exact track of this is just, it's hard to pinpoint this far out, but we're doing our best here. And that's just kind of the latest. So here's a look at your 7-day forecast for the valley regions of the Tennessee Valley. Cold, highs in the 30s Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Ground's going to be very cold as this moves in, so it's not going to have a hard time sticking on the pavement, on the grassy surfaces, especially as we start to get some higher snowfall rates. 2 to 5 inches, I think, on the table. These numbers will adjust a little bit, like I said. Friday night, snow continues, tapering off Saturday morning, slick roads, and probably not going anywhere quickly, because we are going to have temperatures likely dropping into the teens Saturday night with that snowpack. And then Sunday, 39, 41 on Monday. So well below normal for the next 7 days. So if we do get a decent amount of snow, it is probably going to stick around for a little bit. But again, Friday, Saturday, going to be an impact day. If you're heading out early on Friday, just keep in mind, snow's probably coming in later in the day. So if you go to work in the morning, it looks all right. The afternoon and evening, you may be battling some snowy conditions or icy conditions on your drive home. So go ahead and prepare for that. If you can use a work from home day, I suggest that. If not, be very careful, folks. Make sure you're checking on your people. Make sure they have sufficient warming supplies as this moves in. Your pets, bring those inside because it's too cold for them. You're also going to want to drip those faucets and protect those outdoor pipes that are exposed over the next couple of days. We don't want any pipes exploding, and that just creates, I've seen it happen before when temperatures drop into the teens for multiple nights. So do what you can to prepare for this. You know, maybe we don't get as much snow as we think. Maybe it turns out to be a pretty big one here. It's been a while since we've had this setup, though, with that low pressure tracking across the Gulf. So continue to check back for updates. I'll release a new video every single morning. Follow me on Facebook as well, Clay Smith 3, affiliated with Local 3 News here in Chattanooga. We do what we can to keep you updated. Our chief meteorologist is David Carnes. We also have Audrey Shirley and Hannah Sky on staff. A great team here in Chattanooga, so we do what we can to keep you updated. Have a great day, and stay tuned for new updates.